Welcome to Practical Business Technology, where we keep you in the know about technology's impact on business. Today's show is sponsored by the Maricopa County Bar Association, and our host is Dave Kinsey, author and owner of Total Networks. Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're going to talk about Microsoft and the
Microsoft's modern way to work, yeah. So, not the old way, the new way.
The new way.
Yeah, the way all the cool kids are doing it. So, no, actually, that's the thing. Actually, not all the cool kids are doing it. There certainly are a lot of people that are taking advantage of it more and more, but there's still quite a bit. You know, we're spending a lot of time. There's so much of Microsoft 365 that exists that we're really still pushing that out with our clients, and they're using more features and more capabilities.
Yes. So by now, most of you are probably using Office 365.
Yep.
If you're not and you're still on Exchange,
well, you could be on Google.
You could be on Google, but right now we're talking about
Microsoft 365.
Predominantly Microsoft 365, and there's a lot of features in there besides just Outlook or Word that sometimes people don't even realize all that they can do with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the thing is, and it continues to evolve every day. When Microsoft Office 365 first came to be, actually, when it first came to be, it wasn't even called Office 365. It didn't even have a cool name. It was called Microsoft BPOS, Business Production System Online. It didn't even sound good. BPOS. Ugh. So, but anyway, and it was basically just hosting your email, hosting your Exchange, and then even after it became Microsoft 365 or Office 365, it was pretty much just hosting your email and then sort of having a subscription service for your for Office. But then Microsoft, over time, spent a lot of time and effort, and they have more software engineers than anyone else in the world, and have developed one heck of a platform and a system, and it just keeps getting better. So
what's an example?
An example of, well, let's talk of, where one of the things where we're moving all sorts of information to SharePoint Online. And some people have heard me say the word SharePoint and they cringe and they go, that's awful. How dare you propose? I need a new IT provider. I can't talk with you anymore. La la la. I don't want to hear anything about SharePoint. That's so terrible. And frankly,
used to be.
Originally it really wasn't a very good product in my mind. It was this big ponderous thing where Microsoft set a vision. Okay, Microsoft doesn't do things small. They do things, in a very big sense. And so they had a long-term vision for what the SharePoint thing would be. And they created this big, huge thing that, frankly, just did not work for most people for a long time. And, just the old SharePoint that you had on the server is very different than the modern SharePoint Online. I mean, it has some history, but it is totally a different thing. And SharePoint Online is frankly amazing in terms of all the features and capabilities that are in it today.
It is frankly amazing. And, I learned about a new feature just this week. And I think that's because they keep evolving it. But you can sync team share folders to your OneDrive. And then whenever you log in to Office 365 on any computer, those folders are right there in your File Explorer. And that is super handy.
That's one way to go. There's all sorts of different ways to do it. And that's one thing. It has tremendous flexibility. You can have it be very familiar with folders that are there that just sync and are there. You can have it be where you're always accessing it just, natively online.
You can find it in Teams.
Find Teams, it's a SharePoint. It's all one system. It's just very well thought out and very well thought through. And and that's the other thing is it's the storage for Microsoft Teams, which is another amazing application. That's where Microsoft is investing more time and energy than anything is in Teams. And if you think of Teams as just this video conferencing tool, you're thinking of about 1% or 2% of what Teams is. Teams is much, much, much more than that. Teams does happen to have video conferencing capability like a Zoom and others, but it does so much more. And so, yeah, so this is the whole thing. Microsoft's modern way of doing business is built really around leveraging, first and foremost, Office 365, or Microsoft 365 is what they're calling it now. So and there's a lot to that, and there's a lot of planning that can go into how you do things in Teams and SharePoint online, and it's just our goal is anything that was on a file server, like a file share, your R drive or Q drive or Z drive or T drive, or A, B, C, D, whatever letter drive it is. In general, the goal would be to have that in SharePoint Online, and because it's just going to work better. So for a number of things, it's going to be easier to get at, easier to share. You can do obviously the document co-authoring, where you can be in the same document at the same time. All those things. So that's something, if you're not leveraging it today, or even if you are using that SharePoint Online today, we've seen it where you can rethink it and use it in an even better way. So you want to be looking at it and and evaluating how you're storing your information and all the capabilities and things you can be doing. So that's number one. And really, in the modern world, our whole goal is to have everything be online, everything be in the what's called native cloud, and so no server.
Well, you definitely don't need a file server anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, in almost all cases, yeah. It's for like typically, we're we talk to a wide array of businesses, and there's some type of businesses that may have a specialized need. But in general, you generally don't need file server, yeah.
And so if you are still accessing files on your whatever letter drive,
yeah,
that can all be moved to the cloud. It's included in your Office 365 subscription. And then all employees have access to it from anywhere. They can co-author. You have
yep.
history on it. You can sign up for additional backups to make sure it's backed up, and it's just pretty slick.
Yeah, and then if you can have it where your line of business application, if whatever specific applications you're using, some sort of are designed to run on a server and have on PCs and servers, and so they're not as easily moved. But if you can set up where you have all your applications that are hosted, that are a cloud thing, then and increasingly, and that's our goal, is to get clients there, and we have a number of clients there, is to kill the server, and we've been killing servers everywhere we can. And one of the challenges with that, killing the final server used to be problematic, until they now have a thing called Azure Active Directory. And this has to do with managing security, managing logins to your Microsoft environment for a business environment, managing your PCs, things like that. Microsoft now has a cloud version of what the local server used to do to manage security. And so that's important. And we do find that a lot of people are not leveraging that and should be. So, and that's something that's very helpful as well. So that's something to be looking at. If you don't have a server, hopefully you have a business there that's something you're using. So
maybe let's talk about what are all the things that Microsoft 365 includes. Email, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Forms, bookings.
Microsoft
Did you know that you can book appointments? You don't need Calendly or another thing.
Yeah, Microsoft Bookings is very cool. I know I have my Microsoft Bookings page, and I have a link to it in my email signature. So if people want to schedule time with me, and I'll cut and paste that, into messages as well. It saves so much back and forth. Yeah, Microsoft Bookings is very powerful.
So SharePoint, Teams. Yeah. What are other common things?
And with Teams, Teams includes video and audio conferencing, and that's one thing that they standardized too, is where they include an audio conference, so a phone number if you want to call in as well. That was something Teams, you've always had the ability to do that, but something you had to pay extra for. I mean, it wasn't expensive, but that's something that Microsoft now includes, and they did that fairly recently here in 2022. So so you have that conferencing capability, video and audio for however people want to do.
Stream is a place where you can store videos. So if you want to do a training library or that kind of thing. I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
Oh yeah.
Because
there's so much to do just in those core.
And then there's
items.
probably applications you have that have integrations with Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
That might help streamline processes as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of other apps that may or may not be used by people, like Planner and whatnot. There's just all, the list is fairly extensive, but there's so much for people to take advantage in just those core things, particularly in SharePoint Online and Teams. Those applications themselves are just extremely feature rich, and not every business is taking full advantage of them. Mm-hmm. So, and one thing, like say within Teams and with SharePoint Online, you can share your documents internally. You can also collaborate with third parties, and they make it a very easy way to do that as well.
What about security?
Security is, obviously.
Well, it's cloud. Times people get worried about that.
Yeah. Well, and so the most important thing, I mean, you do want to make sure your IT provider goes through and locks down your environment. There's the best practices to set that up. And one of those items should be that you have multi-factor authentication for everyone. This is not optional nowadays. You really must have multi-factor to protect your Office 365 account, so where you'll get maybe a code on your phone. Because if you don't, it's just a matter of time you're going to get hacked. So that that needs to be in place. But when you have all that proper security in place, it's very strong. You have very strong security. You have a lot of auditing tools to manage it and all that. If you don't, if your whoever's managing your IT is not careful, you can get in trouble. And so you do want to make sure that you're being thorough and have a good checklist for that.
But if you got your multi-factor authentication set up properly,
that goes a long way.
Don't need to be scared of using a cloud application.
No. I would be more scared of using an on-prem application, an on-server thing here in the long run, and because everything is going to an online setup.
Well, more just you get the updates easier, and the new features.
Yeah, you want to be very careful who you're working with. So Microsoft is a good partner to have in online, and so and there are other good solutions as well. And then there's some that are not as strong. So you just want to make sure you're doing your due diligence.
So, any last thoughts, or what should someone do if they don't know if they're using everything?
Well, I mean, I'd say number one, just look, are you taking advantage of, and are you seeing new features and functionality that you're taking advantage of in Office 365? And if the answer is no,
well, I guess if you are doing things the same way you did a year ago, there's probably some new things to learn.
There definitely are. And so, be proactive in talking with your IT. You can obviously talk with us. We're happy to help as well. In general, it's something we want to make sure that if you're not moving ahead, you're kind of falling behind in this world where there's just such a wealth of features and functions.
I mean, it's very true. Technology is constantly evolving, and Microsoft is definitely a leader in that.
Yeah, they're leading the way. So. All right.
Well, thanks, Dave. What a great conversation. I'm going to go use my Microsoft 365.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks.